Thank you very much for the kind introduction. I'm afraid that we're not at zero yet, but maybe we can. I can show you some data that gets us closer to zero at least. So if we're talking about CMV infection, and you all know this, and you don't do ameliorate those rates, but again there are huge differences among the different serology groups. Here the high-risk group, even with prophylaxis, if you do prophylaxis for 90 days, still you get a high infection rate. And we also know, and this study, the Symphony study has been cited before, we also know that the incidence of CMV infection is somehow related with the type or the kind of immunosuppression that we're doing. And this is old data, and here we already see that there are differences among the different immunosuppressive protocols. So somehow it is not only related with the sero status, but also with the intensity of immunosuppression. And this is one of the first studies where a calcineurin inhibitor, and in this case, cyclosporin with different doses of the calcineurin inhibitor, a calcineurin inhibitor in combination with everolimus, cyclosporin, everolimus with different doses were combined and compared with the control arm, cyclosporin and mycophenolate. So what happened with the incidence of CMV infections? And here you can see that at 1 year and at 2 years, there was a significant difference in favor of the everolimus arms, a significantly lower incidence of CMV infections. And if you look at the different groups with different serologies, you can see that this was true for the high-risk arm and also for the intermediate risk arm. There was a higher incidence in the MPA group. If you take this to the TRANSFORM study, we already heard about the TRANSFORM study, tacrolimus in combination with everolimus, and here you see the same, basically the same pattern. In the MPA arm, in the different serologies, you find a significant difference in favor of the everolimus arm compared with the MPA arm, and this is true in those patients who received prophylaxis with valganciclovir, and also in those patients who did not receive prophylaxis, who did mostly preemptive therapy. This is a publication, meta-analysis, and they looked at the influence of mTOR inhibitors versus CNI, the influence of CMV infections. So this is mTOR inhibitor-based CNI-free versus CNI-based mTOR inhibitor-free immunosuppression, and there was a clear pattern in favor of the mTOR inhibitor. However, this is the therapy that we don't do anymore de novo. So you could say what happens with the combination CNI plus mTOR inhibitor versus mTOR inhibitor free, and the authors also looked at D plus R minus patients, but also patients who received the rejection therapy and patients who had the everolimus treatment withdrawn at some time point. So altogether of those 230, they identified 77 high-risk patients. And to those high-risk patients, they gave preemptive therapy. Preemptive therapy meaning regular screening either for antigenemia or PCR, and then once they had a positive signal for CMV, they would start treatment. So what happened in those patients that were classified low risk, they had no CMV infection,